The Great Canadian Talk Show.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Your voice. Cool. 92.9. 92.9. Kick FM.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Great Canadian Talk Show. A nice, freezing cold Wednesday. You can see this is the kind of weather that lends all of us to believe the polar bears are really threatened here in Manitoba. But if your car started, you're one up on many of your fellow residents, denizens, and citizens. And we will be talking about, among other things, climate change, climate gate, leaked emails, doctored data, and all the rest with a very special guest after 5 o'clock. Dr. Tim Ball will be joining this program after the Crime Court's Public Safety Update. A full program today, indeed, as we'll be squeezing Dr. Ball in between the Crime Court's Public Safety Update. Winnipeg Police winning an award named after somebody who I don't think is a relative of mine. They won the Goldstein Award. I'll have to look a little deeper into that during one of the breaks. We'll have the Crime Court's Public Safety Update, Dr. Tim Ball, and then I think Illegal Curve should be with us today to round out the program. In hour one, busy indeed, Bart Jose will be joining us, General Manager of Artist Emporium, one of the sponsors here of this program and of Kick FM. We'll be talking with Bart, who is, he doesn't know it yet, but I'm going to be asking what he's doing tomorrow night. Oh, and I see line one is lighting up, and just as soon as I get the thumbs up from Peanut Gallery, I will know exactly what's going on in the main body of the show. Oh, we got lots more on that Canada Post relocation to McDermott Avenue. We have details you have not read anyplace else in the mainstream media or heard anywhere else, because I actually went down to the site and asked a few questions today, and it raises even more questions. Meanwhile, Bartley Kiva spanked over not only his coverage, but really the entire Free Press getting spanked. Matter of fact, an email with regards to the sad state of the Free Press. Oh, you know what? Our mistakes, corrections, and they've got like a lineup, a queue waiting of corrections they have to get through. Premier Selinger, in light of the fact that this province yesterday lost basically 700 jobs, he's worried about polar bears. Bill Blakey offering deals with the legislature, with the opposition, so that he can run off to Copenhagen with the premier and pretend to be an environmental big shot. We will touch on those matters as well. An excellent blog post or two, one by Graham Natchik, about growth and downtown, the concept of growth and the state of downtown. I'm going to try to weave around to that and there's another, I see there's another couple of letters to the editor, another email that we just got. So I'm going to try, and we will be recapping the appearance yesterday of City Councillor Harvey Smith. One of the, how do I put this? We got a lot of reaction, positive and negative, to many of the comments of Councillor Smith, particularly his observations about the state of City Hall, the state of reporting from City Hall, his reflections on the failures of former Mayor Glenn Murray, and last but not least, because it was actually first, Harvey Smith announced he was running for re-election in the Daniel McIntyre ward. Oh boy, and you know what? I can't even get the show underway without getting emails from folks. Is not hard to believe, but it comes in fast and furious. I got to say, talk at kick.fm, the email address, and 780-5425, the number. And, you will be getting facts with regards to so-called global warming later today after 5 o'clock, Dan. I appreciate just because it's cold today, it means nothing in terms of global warming. It does mean something in terms of the public attitude. It's hard for the public to buy into it when they see that cold still means really cold. Peanut Gallery agrees. Okay. But we will have lots of facts about ClimateGate after 5 o'clock. We might even have a few before 5 o'clock, a Canadian connection to something called homogenizing data. And that's not for oral consumption. And another email that I'll have to get to later with regards to a story we might be doing tomorrow. Right now, joined on the phone as we are every Wednesday during the month of December by Tal East of CDI College, the marquee sponsor of the Great Canadian Talk Show through the fall and winter season. Hello, Tal. Are you there? Okay. Well, we don't often get this. I can hear something. Somebody's typing away. All right, I'll tell you what, Brad, put it back on hold. And then you pick up the phone and just make sure that somebody's there. When they're there, you just give me the so-called office, and then we'll know what's going on. Peanut Gallery in handling the controls. Shanley busy thawing out. Shanley had the pleasant experience of a bus breaking down today.
That's right, Marty.
And what was that experience like?
It was actually quite dreadful. It was dreadful. It's during the beginning of rush hour, right near Bishop Grandin.
Hi, sorry.
Cars that were in the bus lane can't, there's like 20 cars in the bus lane. They all have to move out of the way, and it was very cold. And I have a pet peeve.
Yes, please.
I have a beef.
All right, a beef.
An ignorant driver in a red car who did not get out of the bus lane to let because I guess the people didn't realize the bus was stalled. So then they're getting.
Wait a second. When you say bus lane, you mean the curb lane?
Yeah,
this isn't
lane.
A diamond lane.
Well, I'm sorry, the lane that the bus was in.
Okay.
So people were getting out of the way when they realized the bus was stalled, and then this guy, he parked about a car length back. He just sat there looking through his GPS, and thus not allowing the second bus to come closer to pick up the people at the bus stop. So I know it's like I had to walk another bus length or two, but to get the new bus. But I'm just very peeved at this ignorant driver who just sat there and would not get out of the way. So
okay.
Red car driver.
Whatever our criticism is of Winnipeg Transit, we are not critical of people who rely on transit. And so all you drivers out there, be considerate when you see a bus that should be abandoned or is in the midst of being abandoned by passengers, etc.
And he wasn't even looking up, he was just sat there, and I'm just in a really bad mood.
Oh, I've never seen you in a bad mood.
I am. I'm in a very, very bad mood, and
your day was soured by the discourteous conduct of drivers.
It was. All the other drivers were fine, and the bus broke down. That's fine. That's why I always get transfers when I get on the bus.
Uh-huh.
That happens.
Sure.
I have to wait 20 minutes for another bus. That happens. It's cold. That's fine. It's just the discourteous driver.
One jerk. Ruined it for my op today. Now I'm not happy. All right, let's try it again. Maybe Tall East is happier. Maybe I don't think she was on a bus that broke down today. Hello, Tall. Now I'm not hearing it again. Oh, hold on. Let's press a button here and see if that helps. And it's funny because I think I can hear something, but maybe not. No, I think that's her in the background again. So, I put it back on hold, and you guys know what to do. I hope you know what to do. Oh, it just happened breaking out all over here. Let's see what this text message says. Oh, you know what? Listen to this. We have a volunteer saying they'll bring some excess energy drink tomorrow. Unfortunately, Mr. Dixon, Shanley won't be here tomorrow. But I will reserve the excess energy drink. I don't know what she thinks of these kinds of things. We will hold it in reserve here until her appearance here next Wednesday. Now again, line one. Tall, is that you? No, we don't have any audio. What is going on there? Isn't that peculiar? The things that happen in live radio. Are you able to hear when you pick? Yeah, you know what? Here, let me try it this way. Tall, can you hear me? Let's try it with press this. No? Hey, can you hear me now? Okay, hold on, and I'm going to try it again. I can hear you, just hold on. All right, folks, let's put the phone down and try it. Okay, Tall, can you hear me? No. Let's try it again. I don't know if this is going to work or not. Can you hear me now? I think we have to call John and find out what's going on with the phones, kids, because I have a feeling it's not working. Okay, so you pick it up in there, and one of the others of you call John, and here's what we're going to do. We'll go to a break. We'll go to the break. We'll see if we can get this fixed. We can get Tall East on because she wants to talk with us, give us an update on the work they're doing with the Christmas Cheer Board, as well as their food drive. And there's something else she wants to update us on as well. I want to talk with Glenn Ankrum about the accounting program over there at CDI College. So Shanley, let's go to the break. We'll see if we can resolve this phone issue. We'll come back. I'll give Tall a call right now, and we'll see if we can get this fixed. You're listening to Great Canadian Talk Show, Winnipeg's Indie Station, 92.9 Kick FM.
Support the Great Canadian Talk Show and shop for our exclusive merchandise at cafepress.com/kicktalk.
A stylish collection of men's and women's t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, barbecue aprons, infant, toddler, and kids wear. There's coffee mugs and beer steins, stickers, and more. Just go to cafepress.com/kicktalk and show the world you get the real story. From the Great Canadian Talk Show on Winnipeg's Indie Station, 92.9 Kick FM.
exposing the untouchables and the pet projects of millionaires. It's the Great Canadian Talk Show, weekdays at 4 p.m. on 92.9 Kick FM, heard around the world at www.kick.fm.
This is Mayor Sam Cates, and I'd like to wish all Kick FM listeners a Merry Christmas and a happy, healthy New Year. Whether it is family or friends joining us in celebration, we will soon be acting as ambassadors to Winnipeg, and I encourage everyone to share our hospitality and holiday spirit with our winter visitors. I'd also encourage all Winnipeggers to remember our city's less fortunate this holiday season by making a contribution to any of our city's charities. Winnipeg is known for its giving and compassion, so let's make sure everyone enjoys this happy festive season.
Get the specialized art supplies and expert service you can't get at the big box store. Artists Emporium is the largest art supply store in central Canada. Discover the art of service at 1610 St. James Street at Dublin or visit artistsemporium.net. Stay tuned for more of the Great Canadian Talk Show on 92.9 Kick FM. Brought to you by CDI College at 280 Main Street and the Focal Point Optician on the University of Manitoba campus.
Does this sound like your day? This is Dr. Kyle Smith. Day-to-day stresses can rob you of energy, so you feel more exhausted, unable to remember even the simplest things or focus on the task at hand. If this sounds familiar, then you need an energy makeover with Focus Up, the delicious Pure Energy Think Drink. Just add to water or your favorite cold drink, and the energy-rich nutrients will help you feel more energized for hours while improving focus, mood, memory, and alertness. And unlike sugary or artificial energy drinks, Focus Up is made with natural ingredients. And because Focus Up is a delicious powder supplement, not a pill or capsule, it speeds absorption. Try Focus Up now and find out how you can get a box for free when you call this number.
This product absolutely endorsed by Captain Audio and alternative health genius Stephen Hanks. Call Stephen 770-4414. Email this program or go to focusup.ca.
Take that, villain. The alternative media strikes again.
The government no like Marty Gold, cause he tell truth. He tell truth.
92.9 Kick FM.
And we're back with the Great Canadian Talk Show, and we're going to try it one more time. I hope this one works this time.
So, Marty,
yes,
quickly,
yes,
have to tell you that the alleged driver of the red car phoned in,
yes,
claiming his car broke down.
Well, it's nice of him to apologize like that.
I suppose, but I don't like being. I have to say, regardless of his car breaking down or not, I was cold. I don't like being
Well,
cold.
you know what? If the bus is going to break down, the car is going to break down. Okay, I'm going to give that a shot again. Can you hear me on line one?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. So we
Can
managed.
you hear me?
I can hear you, and the audience can hear you. We managed to fix the problem with the board, and the guy whose car stalled out and delayed Chanelly's replacement bus has phoned in and apologized to her directly. So we get results here on the Great Canadian Talk Show. Did you have a lot of absenteeism down at CDI College because of the sudden onset of the cold weather?
No, not really.
Okay.
I mean, most of us lived here all of our lives. It's not the first winter, and so that would never be a good excuse for not coming to school.
Unless their bus breaks down.
Well, then they can call somebody for a ride. I'm quite a stickler on attendance. We are preparing people for the
real world
workforce here, and so just because it's cold or the bus isn't running doesn't mean you don't go to work. So it's the same kind of thing, and we instill that in our students that this is a preparation for work, and we are their references.
I want to maybe approach things a little backwards before you put Glenn Ankrum on the line.
Actually, Glenn can't join me. His students are writing a final exam.
Oh, wow.
So I have Nicole Sturden here with me. She is my most senior admissions representative, and she knows a lot about the accounting program, and maybe if you have questions for her, she can walk you through the process.
Okay, so then maybe what we'll do is if you put Nicole on, I'll talk with her about it. She can explain how things work down there, and then I'll get caught up with you on some of the fundraising community efforts.
I will pass the phone
Excellent.
to Nicole.
Right on. Thank you.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello, Nicole. How are you?
Good. You?
It's Marty Gold on the Great Canadian Talk Show. I'm glad you're able to join us today, standing in ably for Glenn.
Yes.
I was actually looking forward to speaking with Glenn because he's one of the instructors I've met many times in our visits down to the campus as well as coming down to the graduation. I'm not sure if I've met you before or not, though.
I don't think so.
Oh, well, next time we're hoping to have a live remote. We were hoping for one next week, but I think it's more likely we're going to be down on the campus again in January.
Oh, great.
And I'll make a point of getting down early enough to get introduced to you. We were going to talk with Glenn today about the accounting and payroll course, but maybe you can give us a general overview with regards to the admissions process to CDI College and the kind of assistance that your office renders to people that are interested in entering one of the course streams.
All right. Normally we just invite people down for an information session the first time. And that's just basically going over the programs that they're interested in, having them meet with the instructors of the programs, touring them the facilities, and having them sit down with a financial planner so that they can find out different options they have for funding.
That financial planner aspect is actually of interest to me because a lot of people, especially if they've been in the workforce for a while and they find they just can't get ahead. One of the things that people are concerned about, of course, is the notion that it's unaffordable, the burden of student loans in terms of the repayment down the line, etc. But I know from my conversations with Tal and other staff members that CDI College does everything possible to try to make sure that the prospective students understand that there's a way they can budget so that that advanced education is within their grasp.
Right. And it can be a very confusing process to go through on your own. So I think that people enjoy that they can come in and sit down with a finance planner and they can actually explain everything. Once they choose a financing option, our planners also sit down and actually help them apply for any funding.
How many students a year are go through the intake process?
Students, or how many people go through?
Well, okay, people who then turn into students, maybe is what I was asking.
I would say probably around 500.
Are a lot of them, the majority of them, actually good candidates for CDI College's courses?
I'd say about 75% are good candidates. Yeah.
Now, with regards to the 25% that aren't, sometimes is that a matter where they need to upgrade their secondary school education, or that there's other factors that makes them not a good candidate to join CDI's programs?
I think more so that there's other factors going on, because any of the skills that they need in terms of getting into our programs here, we actually teach them as part of the program.
Now, your own background, how did you end up in the position you're in at CDI College? How long have you been with them?
I've been with CDI for 3 years.
Did you have a background with a similar institution previously?
Not a similar institution, not a school, but I definitely come from a business background.
Your own impressions, perhaps, if considering Tal's like standing right there beside you, about CDI, because I can tell you that from when Tal East got in there, and I became familiar with the facility. I've been very impressed with the staff, obviously with the facility itself and the way that it's retrofitted the Wilson's Furniture Building, and especially with the fact that the students, every time I go in there, we do a live remote or I've been at grad, the student body themselves, very, very motivated, very, very keen, very, obviously they have a lot of good people skills.
Right. I love the school, and not just because Tal's sitting right beside me. Everybody here is great. We work very, very hard to solve problems for the students and keep them in school, to do what we can to ensure that they're where they need to be in their courses. Whatever they need, someone here can help them out with.
Now, I'll give you a chance maybe to speak directly to our audience, especially with regards to anybody who individually might be interested in entering one of the course streams, or if someone out there knows somebody who maybe is looking for a change or looking for a new direction and may be interested. How would they go about taking that first step?
They can just give us a call, and they'll set up an appointment to come in and just go through an information session. So it's no pressure the first time. It's just coming in, finding out about the school, and finding out about the program. I mean, it's not for everybody. So we like to just give them all the information we can about our school and then leave it up to them to make the choice.
I appreciate that you've ably been a pinch hitter for Glenn today. I don't know if you ever played baseball, but you just did. And Nicole, I look forward to meeting with you when I come down to the to CDI campus next. Perhaps you can put Tal back online. We'll get caught up on some of the other activities on the campus.
Will do. Thanks.
Thanks very much. Have a good day.
You too. Hi.
Well, I'm glad that the phones worked. That was a good interview with her.
I would like to say that she's actually been here 3.5 years. We started on the same day.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We started on the same day July 24th, 2006.
Well, she handled that very well. I don't know if she ever played baseball before, but she did very good in the pinch hitter role. And I guess we'll try to line up Glenn Ankrum for next week, perhaps for next Wednesday. Now, very quickly, Tal, can you give my audience an update? First of all, how's the food drive going? The 1,500 pounds, you getting there?
We're getting there. It's going to be a hard stretch to get there. We started later than we did last year, but I'm not one of these people that gives up. So I will be approaching all the people we do business with, all my friends, family, their friends and family, and everybody that I can. I'm sure you saw my Facebook page.
Yes, I did. I notice it every day.
Constant reminder. But we are at about 300 pounds now. So, and then the staff doesn't stop reminding me that we actually started a lot earlier last year for the 1,200 pounds. That's okay. Whatever we can get, we'll take. And we're not stopping just because we're 1,200 pounds away. We'll keep going, and we'll push to the 15 as much as we can.
Now, do you have a date set for when you and the students and staff are going to be doing the deliveries for the Christmas cheerboard? This
21st.
Year? The 21st. So let me grab my book, and I'm going to mark that in. And then what I'd like to do maybe is get a field report from yourself. That'll be on the Monday.
Yeah.
Oh, my cousin Gershy's birthday. But you know what? I want to get a live
birthday.
Pardon me?
Happy birthday.
It'll be happy birthday for my cousin Gershy. I'm just going to mark it in, and what we'll do is maybe we'll be able on that Monday, Tal, to get yourself or one of the students on the line just to briefly describe the experience of doing the deliveries and being part of that community effort.
Sure.
Now,
Marty, have you dropped your non-perishable food items here yet?
No, because
just checking.
No, because somebody much smarter than I is going through the pantry in terms of the seasonal stuff, and we're going to be able to identify in short order, what we're using and what is something that will be best directed to others.
Okay, great.
So that's on the agenda for the weekend, along with all the other cleaning up for the holiday season. You got
double holidays at your house.
As a matter of fact, we do, because not only is the tree up, but I still have to go to Professor Levinsky's and figure out where my menorah went.
Yeah, and that's this weekend.
It is. I had Marty and Catherine on the show yesterday, Tal, and they were discussing some of the various activities in the community relating to Hanukkah.
Nice.
As well as plugging the Jewish Book Fair that's on this week.
Yeah.
I know there's one other activity. There's the food drive. There's the Christmas cheerboard. Oh, the support for the single mother and Christmas for her and her 2 kids.
That is going fantastic as well. We got a lot of non-perishable food items, lots of toys showing up. So that's going to keep going. On the 23rd in the morning, she's going to come and pick everything up, and we all want to be here for that. We'll be buying the perishable food items that morning. So that's going fantastic. Our Holiday Doors contest is on right now, and so there's lots of stuff going on.
Excellent. Tal, I appreciate it very much. We'll have you on again, you and one of your staff members, I suppose, next Wednesday to kick off the show. I'm sorry about the phone screw-up, but we managed to fix it. We didn't have to get John Pure in, so things are looking up. As a matter of fact, and Shannalee's going to be cheerier. I guess she took off to do some production work. When she comes back, she's going to be happy because the American Peach Fresca is on the way.
Very nice.
I might have to save you a can. I can't guarantee anything. Do you want to try it, Tal?
I'd love to try it.
Okay, I'll make another note of that.
First time for everything.
You got the right attitude over there, I got to say. Deliver Peach Fresca to Tal. So I've got that marked in for tomorrow morning because I got some business to do downtown.
Nice.
Too tall. We'll be trying one live in the studio, so you can tune in later. I don't know. I don't think Shannalee's into the junk food the way I am, or the way Peanut Gallery is. But she last weekend, as we were leaving, or last week rather, she said she was actually interested in this stuff. So, and it's going to be ice cold too.
Nice.
So we'll set aside. I think there's a 6-pack coming in. We'll set aside one for yourself, and hopefully it'll be a popular item all the way around. Then maybe we'll just have to get some smuggled back from our next friend who visits Grand Forks or Fargo. Tal, thanks very much for joining us today.
I just want to wish you a happy Hanukkah. I know I won't be talking to you before Hanukkah begins.
Oh, Tadar Rabah, thanks very much, and to you and your family as well, my dear.
Thanks.
And to Ari, too.
I will.
All right, have a good day. We'll talk to you next Wednesday.
For sure. Thanks, Marty.
Okay, Tal East joins us every Wednesday in the month of December to discuss the kinds of courses and programs that are available at CDI College, as well as to describe the good work that they do in the community as part of downtown. Well, not only is Shannalee going to be thrilled, look at this. She gets the call from the guy who was, of all things, the person who was stalled out and she got so upset about them not getting out of the way of the bus. They listen to this show, to Kick FM. Imagine that.
It's a small world.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a small world, and maybe we just got a good audience. And who else has a radio audience, that would phone in and apologize for something like that? So she can look forward to that. Now, one thing that people will not be able to look forward to before I get into the, I'm just going to wing it through here so we don't have a break coming up till maybe you can set the second break in, eh? While you're sitting there or something, right? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, you're getting it. He's getting with it. You're on the verge of being an op, pal.
Oh, jeez.
I know.
The power.
Yeah, it is. Oh. It's a lot of power, as a matter of fact. Now, I've just gotten a press release from the Manitoba government, as well as on a number of emails. There's a situation going on with regards to a family in rural Manitoba on the outskirts of Winnipeg with a dispute with the town council. And to put not too fine a point on it, this is a situation where if it doesn't get resolved tonight, I am sure I'm going to be doing something about this on the air. Hopefully it'll get resolved because some town councillors, I think they're called Reeves in that part of the world, are looking to play Grinch with this family's Christmas. And we're looking at whether or not we're going to have to shed some light on what I am concerned are not necessarily fair tactics being used with regards to a dispute over some tax matter. In any event, the press release I referenced, employment and income assistance checks are delayed. Some provincial checks and direct deposits have been delayed. I guess they come out twice a month nowadays instead of once a month?
I have no idea.
This includes what we used to call welfare checks, supported living, children's special services, and 55-plus Manitoba shelter and child benefits, and child welfare foster parent payment. Hey, wait a second. The foster parent payments are delayed? Contingency plans were put in place to process the EIA checks at individual offices. Some people listen to this. Some clients who receive payments through direct deposit will instead receive a check mailed directly to them. What happens if they don't have... Well, no, I guess if it's direct deposit, they do have a bank account. But what happens if it's not convenient for them to get to the bank? Well, this is just the time of year they want that. Is this not the second time there's been... Well, didn't that happen this summer where the welfare checks were screwed up? Going into a weekend or a long weekend it was, remember?
Something about that, yeah.
Anyways, if you're a person who is concerned about the status of their check, you should contact your caseworker or call 945-8080 in Winnipeg or 877-655-0502 outside of Winnipeg. Emergency assistance will be made available. Well, I'd say something about the fact the press release came out at 3:58 in the afternoon, but, obviously this isn't intentional, and I'm sure it wasn't expected. And the government departments involved are doing their best, so we'll see how that pans out. Okay, 4:28 here on the Great Canadian Talk Show. I want to revisit yesterday's story about the Field of Dreams, Gordon Bell High School, getting the Manitoba government to belly up $5.3 million in total, $3.8 for the purchase of a land, $1.5 million for the rehabilitation of the former Midway Chrysler triangularly shaped tract of land at 730 Portage Avenue. And Canada Post announcing, well, they found another location. Councillor Harvey Smith yesterday agreed with me that there's a lot of, not just questions, but a lot of issues here that are being glossed over, notably that the NDP-dominated Winnipeg School Division No. 1 School Board did not bid on this land when it first became available. Another listener pointing out to me, and not only in agreement with Councillor Smith and myself, that this is the provincial NDP conjuring up $5.3 million out of thin air. Who knows where this money has come from, what other programs are being affected. Listener pointing out, they say that this doesn't affect the other priorities of Winnipeg 1 School Division, and it's an extraordinary payment, that it doesn't affect the current priority list. Yes, it does, this listener said. Gordon Bell got something that wasn't even on the priority list. If the government has $5.3 million kicking around, why don't they take care of Queenston School without a gym and some of the other schools that are in desperate need of repair, instead of catering to a high school located smack dab in the heart of NDP territory in terms of representation in the legislature? I don't begrudge the kids of Gordon Bell anything myself. However, that school has succeeded for many years without a field. Another listener, by the way, also agreeing with myself, Councillor Smith, it's pretty snarky for Nancy Allen, the Minister of Education, to say that her and the school division will be discussing the fate of Borrowman Street, which is technically the straight part of the street that bends onto Portage Avenue, but that isn't yet Broadway. And imagine that whole little curve isn't actually Broadway. How dumb is that? Anyways, it's up to City Council to decide what streets to open and close. Today, the Winnipeg Free Press reporting that the decision will cost the school division $27,000 in property taxes that they won't be collecting on the land because a field doesn't pay property taxes. The last year Midway Chrysler owned the land, generated $71,000 in city and provincial taxes. $27,800 it is for the school division. The land would have had even more value as a letter sorting facility. On the positive side of the tax ledger, writes Bartley Kivas, Canada Post decision to move its letter sorting depot to the West Alexander neighborhood. Stop right there. I didn't even spot this one earlier. Will we be seeing a correction or an R mistake tomorrow? Because I assure you, listeners, having gone through this, was it 2 weeks ago when we had Pollock Hardware on? Right? And the guy from the Eon Factory that is also with Pollock Hardware, Mike Walchuk, on the Centennial Residence Committee, and when I was talking about the parking authorities' tactics of putting pay stations on the poorest streets in the neighborhood, he said, well, that's actually the Health Science Center is West Alexander. We're Centennial. Isabel's the dividing line. Canada Post decision to move its letter sorting depot to the West Alexander neighborhood. Wrong! Bartley Kivas was wrong. That's in the Centennial neighborhood. Should result in some new revenue for the province and city. The Crown Corporation plans to bulldoze existing properties at Ellen Street and McDermott Avenue. Now, this guy from the city that was quoted, Nelson Carpa, said if you were to tear down older rental housing and put up a modern building, the end structure would have a higher value. Okay, let's start with the whole. And then look at this, the next sentence. Councillor Mike Pactican, who doesn't return our phone calls, who represents West Alexander, said he's happy to see redevelopment in the inner city neighborhood. Yeah, he would be, except this redevelopment is in Centennial neighborhood. Anyways, never mind letting the facts get in the way of a good story by Bartley Kivas, because God knows it never does when it comes to City Hall with that guy. Let me get this straight. They're going to tear down older rental housing. Isn't that two fewer houses for the homeless to be put into as part of the homeless project? They already can't find enough? Nobody questions that, do they? Why not? Why doesn't somebody question this? The loss of rental housing. Oh, because it's better, because Canada Post has found some land that isn't actually in the neighborhood that's been claimed it's in. But well, I took a little drive by that site today because I was trying to figure out exactly what they were talking about. They're going to bulldoze. There's some established businesses they're going to tear down, and they're going to put up a. Now you look at the amount of parking that Canada Post takes up when they park their trucks over in the parking lot where the Winnipeg Tribune used to stand over on Smith Street. So I scoped it out, and let me tell you something. When Councillor Smith and not just Councillor Smith, I believe had my conversation with. I had a conversation with Jeff Brawadi about this. All this stuff, has to pass city zoning, Not so fast. This is not the best thought out plan. I'm not saying Canada Post is wrong in their intention. However, I've got the goods that you don't find out from the mainstream media. The building that's coming down, the territory that's going to be raised, bulldozed, is the south side of McDermott between Francis and Ellen, which turns into Carleton on the other side of Notre Dame. Well, what do you have right in front of the south side? And I mean right in front in the curb lane on the south side of McDermott. That's right, a bike lane. Peanut Gallery's laughing already. Now, on the west side, Francis, you know what you don't have, but you will be seeing once Canada Post puts that building in there? What you don't have right now? Pay stations. So the parking authority's happy. That is still timed parking there. When I think it's a 2-hour zone. Well, that's going to be gone. More metered parking for the neighborhood, for the poor neighborhood, because Canada Post is moving in. Now, let's assume, for argument's sake, that in terms of the sorting aspect, because I'm pretty sure that the trucks will still have to pull inside a building and then pull out. Where are these trucks going to pull out onto? McDermott? Well, that's already a traffic jam, as I'm sure some of my listeners are about to phone and confirm. There's the first one. In all likelihood, these vehicles will pull out of a depot. And come to think of it, I don't know if they're going to pull in and pull out on the same street, but they would pull out onto Ellen Street, which turns into Carlton. Guess what's on Ellen Street? A bike lane. So you're going to have these trucks pulling in and out of a building and circling around a building that is surrounded by bike lanes. That's good planning. Are the streets around that neighborhood equipped for the influx of heavy trucks? Or are the streets going to crumble? They just fixed that stretch of Notre Dame. Now, there's even more about this story that made absolutely zero sense. The posties are going to take a bus to get to their routes. Now let's compare hopping on a bus from the corner of Smith and Graham, otherwise known as the Graham Parquet, the Graham Transit Mall. Let's compare that to the bus service in the area surrounded by Francis, or maybe it's Dagmar. I guess Dagmar's a block down. Francis, McDermott, Ellen, otherwise known as Carlton to the rest of us, and Notre Dame. Let me tell you about the bus service that they say is going to get your mail reliably to you in the hands of carriers. No buses. Oh, sorry, there's a flyer bus, one of those speed routes. The number 3, I think, goes up there every half hour. One bus goes down McDermott. It's the, let me just take a look. It's the 17, like the McGregor. Goes down McDermott, down to Main Street, goes up Main Street, and then what? Well, it goes to the Graham Mall. So now the postal workers will be taking a bus and taking an extra 10 or 12 or 15 minutes, depending on traffic, etc., to get to the same bus stop they used to go to before to be able to start disbursing onto their routes. Now, the proposed new location would have put them right on Portage Avenue. I think there's a few buses that go down Portage, correct? How many buses do you think go down Notre Dame? This is this area sort of is in behind the old ICG building. It's another way to explain it, where there's a stoplight there. In the old days, there was an ICG propane shop there. Exactly one bus comes down that way. That would be that same 17, and guess what? It turns at Isabel. Loosely speaking, it appears that 90% of the mail carriers are going to be transferring buses to get to where they're going. Guaranteed. And there's no way that the majority of them have to do that now, those that are taking buses, because straight down Portage, straight this way, straight that way, up into, say, bus, whatever. The buses that go down Notre Dame and McDermott, that Canada Post assures you customers of their services, that'll work fine to get the mail delivered. No, it won't. A bunch of malarkey. Not that that was caught by Bartley Kivas. In fact, the first comment in the page of the Free Press online today, with regards to the tax loss sustained by the school division, why wasn't this information presented by the Free Press during the debate over the school site rather than after the fact? I love how the Free Press takes the stance of supporting the community during their lobbying and then points out the flaws of their decision after the fact. Present all the information during the debate, please, rather than being overtly biased. That's real reporting. Well, it would have been if only it had taken place. Now, when it says there's some businesses there, it turns out that there's there's more than one business. The business that will move, the owner owns that whole block, those 2 houses he owns that are being demolished or plan to be demolished, as well as a lot on the other side of Francis, which I guess the block between Dagmar and Francis, and that's already an empty lot. So I think that's where the parking's going to go for the postal trucks. Then they're going to build this edifice. Now, what is across the street on Ellen, if we assume that the trucks are going to pull out of a new building onto Ellen and then go up Carlton or go down Notre Dame or God knows go up Cumberland? God knows what's going to happen with Cumberland if you have a fleet of mail trucks starting to go up Donald to get to their routes, right? Nobody's even thought of this. Traffic flow, traffic patterns, clogging up that, but nobody's thought of that. Well, wait, maybe somebody's thought of it, but nobody's talked about it yet. We will. What's right across the street on Ellen, where this truck traffic will be coming in and out? A big 4 or 5 story regional housing block. It's either regional housing or co-op housing. Many, many immigrants live there. In other words, those with no voice. Who is going to speak up about the potential danger to their children posed by increasing truck traffic as they walk to and from school, playgrounds, etc.? How nice it must be for Canada Post and the provincial government to find a location and not stop and think, there are like people with babies that live across the street. I wonder how they're going to appreciate the increased rumble of all those mail trucks. Has anybody even given the people that live in that neighborhood and across the street from that location a second thought? Of course not. Well, you know who should be giving them a second thought? The Social Planning Council. That's who should be worried about the impact that this could have on that downtown community, because it's not bringing new jobs to that area. These are the same jobs that are already located downtown. They're transferring. Unfortunately, one of the businesses that's going to be moving, the Social Planning Council at 412 McDermott. Their building's going to be demolished. Amazing how nobody, Bartley Kivas, nobody at the Sun, nobody in the television or radio caught on to the fact that this is actually the location of 412 McDermott. So maybe in between packing up and holding a garage sale, the Social Planning Council can stop and take a moment, the Wayne Helgesons of the world, and go, is this really in the best interests of this neighborhood where we have been for many, many years? I can hardly wait. Doesn't this require zoning? Doesn't it require some discussion? Doesn't it require city councilors to buy in? Or does the NDP have Canada Post convinced that it's a fantasy world that we all live in? Was there a call there, Peanut Gallery? You wanted to describe it for a second while I grab something here? Yes.
Well, we had a comment from a gentleman who happens to be working for the post office.
Yes.
And
yes, can you bring
the big thing that he was stating was that Canada Post seems to be bent on getting rid of walking carriers and moving into a more mobile carrier system, similar to what the U.S. has. But the thing about the U.S. model is that it's been losing money hand over fist because instead of walking everywhere, they use motorized vehicles. So the upkeep, the cost, all that's compounded, and Canada Post is looking into that model. In fact, is doing that right now throughout the Winnipeg, where they have one or two routes, or say you have a person that walks, say, 15 routes. Mm-hmm. Well, now they have a vehicle to do it, and instead of having 40, 50, 60 routes doing walking beats, they'll be more motorized. So all those areas will need more fleet vehicles, more.
So there's going to be more traffic going into that neighborhood.
Yeah,
great planning. As a matter of fact, a listener pointing out to me that two reporters screwed this up on behalf of the Free Press. Not to pick on them specifically, but Jeff Curbison is the one that filed the story yesterday with regards to the new facility that's being built and the rental houses being torn down, etc. So that's all disastrous. I wish I knew what that. Oh, yeah. I will take the call, but I think one of you has to go to security to bring in Mr. Peach Fresca.
Can do.
Okay, and just prop the door open because I don't even know where the card went. And in the meantime, okay, we'll have more about this Canada Post move because I was very interested, and I haven't even gone and knocked on doors yet to find out about these things and what people really think about it, et cetera, et cetera. One other thing I wanted to get to. All the discussion that there is about downtown, for instance. An excellent blog post that I wanted to bring to everybody's attention. Yeah, look at this. I think this is Peach Fresca now. Progressive Winnipeg, Graham Natchik. Growth, more growth. Pointing out, in terms of single-family starts this year. Hey, how are you? Yeah, have a seat. We're all about to enjoy everything, especially the Peach Fresca. Graham Natchik pointing out apartment vacancies less than 1%. People are forced to live in houses and get a car in the suburbs because that's the only place there's any building being done. The last time somebody wanted to build an apartment tower downtown, they were stopped by a bunch of hypocritical fruitcakes stuffed into the back pockets of Gary Dewar. The vacancy rate is at 1% or less as new homes are built, and I'm supposed to believe the path to saving downtown, writes Graham Natchik, is to address a parking problem. Why would somebody from the suburbs, which is where the new housing is being built, want to come downtown? They get everything they want more in the nearest mall and surrounding shopping centers, including free parking, sans crime fears. Downtown is not for these people. It hasn't been for decades, and it's not going to change anytime soon. Mayor Sam, I think, should ask himself, what is the tipping point for downtown? As in, how many people have to live downtown in order for it to transform itself? It doesn't matter how much parking there is. It doesn't matter which super mega project you build. It doesn't matter how many bike paths you paint on the roads. Downtown will not change until more people live there. Can we at least give people a choice? Almost 100% of new starts in construction are outside of downtown. That's not a choice. You're forcing me. I'm not forcing you. And a commenter on his blog pointing out, on Corden, you're seeing many apartment owners considering embarking on rent on condo conversions, the same as what happened in Osborne Village. If you're concerned, wrote this commenter, about who forces people to buy a house or a condo, look no further than the provincial government, who act as developer and promoter of suburban growth and place a cap on apartment building by restricting rent through rent controls. An excellent point indeed. And again, commentary that you rarely see in the mainstream media. Certainly not the kind of blunt language that Graham Natrick has used. And another listener, having picked up on this story and taken a look, with regards to restricting rent, that deliberately undermines developers who actually try to bid downtown as well. Yeah, you can't win for losing in this town when it comes to development and redevelopment, unless, of course, you're in the pockets of you-know-who. One other story that we've covered pretty much exclusively here and that has not been touched on whatsoever on the mainstream media is what happened to the legislature with the how do I put this? Revocation. No, it's not a revocation. It was like a mutiny almost by the NDP in taking away the right of elected members to elect a deputy speaker, having snuck it through as let's appoint the deputy speaker instead of let's vote for it. And George Hicks, hasn't made a speech since 1999. The guy who sat there, barely represented, never uttered a word in the House in 10 years on behalf of the people of Point Douglas, and yet has come out of it $1 million to the good in terms of salary and benefits. He backed up Bill Blakey and Greg Selinger on this side swipe of democracy. In retaliation, the opposition, tying up the House with urgent House business, including wanting an emergency debate on hydro. And, we got more about Manitoba Hydro coming up. Don't you worry. There's more coming up about Bob Brennan and his gang this week and next. Today, the Free Press, following up on this gridlock at the Ledge, Bill Blakey offering extra question periods to the opposition and nighttime sittings so they can get the throne speech over and done with. You know why? Because Greg Selinger and Bill Blakey are going to go to Copenhagen because they're worried about the polar bears. Remember, in the last couple of days, the province has committed $37 million to an empty field to buy out Canada Post, might I add, and to polar bears. And we've seen 700 jobs at least lost in this province in the same time period. How much have they committed to the job losses? With regards to Tembec, $1 million. And where did that come from? That's $38 million, all announced, the spending all announced, completely outside of the provincial legislature. Is it any wonder why the opposition members are doing everything they can to hold the government to account and to try to draw the mainstream media kicking and screaming into paying attention to the attitude of these social workers, these people who have never made a dime in real business, to think the way to grow this province and to protect this province is to worry about plastic bag bans. Oh, by the way, the Winnipeg Free Press yesterday in their editor's bulletin said Bill Blakey wants to know from all you people about your ideas for recycling plastic bags, etc., etc. This was like a preview of what was going to be in today's editor's bulletin. Or in today's newspaper, rather, in yesterday's editor's bulletin. It's like, a forecast, like tomorrow, this is what we're going to have in the paper, right? From Margot Goodhand. NDP MLA Bill Blakey, funny, it doesn't describe him as a cabinet minister, right? Wants your advice on what to do about plastic garbage bags. The Tories have called for a ban on them, and the province is mulling such proposals, blah, blah, blah. Well, I contacted Conservatives because I thought that can't be right, and it wasn't. Was there a correction in today's editor's bulletin? No. Now, I don't know if there was a story in today's paper about the plastic bag ban. I didn't see one online. I have written an email to the Free Press editor-in-chief, Margot Goodhand. I do not see any correction in today's editor's bulletin. Can you tell me, will the Free Press correct the erroneous information sent out to bulletin subscribers? We'll find out whether they're going to bother with that or if they think that just because it's not printed in ink, they aren't responsible for telling the truth at all times to their readers. I got more about the free press coming up yet. No correction of that. No correction of the fact that the land, the Riverside Park management parking lot land has not been sold. The mistake that was made in Dan Let's Call 2 days ago. They haven't corrected that yet. Mary Agnes Walsh being smacked all over the place in a letter to the editor. She couldn't get any of the facts right with regards to the Oasis investigation and suspension, I don't know if it was technically a suspension, the interim removal of one of their directors, pending that investigation being initiated by the Northern Authority itself. Well, when it comes to the facts, you're not going to get them very quickly in the free press, if at all. An email we got with regards to the story of the year as it relates to the free press. I'll try to get to that. But now, time to switch gears a little bit. 10 minutes to the top of the hour, and I'm joined by Bart Jose on line 1 from Artist Emporium. Hey, Bart, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Mark?
You and I have only had one conversation. That was when you were the lucky winner of a couple of tickets to a Premier Championship Wrestling show earlier this summer, and you got a hold of me after the show to tell me how much you and your kid enjoyed it. I guess you have a teenager that you took to the show?
I did, yeah. It was great.
And Dylan's is licensed so that if you want to bring a kid who can handle some somewhat risque language and a more mature wrestling kind of content, and you guys enjoyed it immensely, and that's when I found out where you were from, because when I actually phoned you, I realized that you manage a business over there around the Polo Park area, and Artist Emporium has come on as a sponsor of the Great Canadian Talk Show on Kick FM, and I'm very glad for that. But I honestly, I haven't had a chance to set foot in your shop yet, so I don't even know really what it is that you offer, and I'm wondering if you can describe what kinds of goods and services Artist Emporium has, and what it's like for you during the Christmas season.
Sure, I'd be happy to. First of all, my last name is pronounced Josie.
Okay.
But that's okay. It's a common misconception.
Anytime I've asked for you, they just put the call through. They don't bother, which is actually pretty good customer service, because the customer's always right.
Well, that's right. Exactly. We've been in Winnipeg for over 30 years. It's a locally owned and operated store. It started out as a craft wholesaler, and about 17 years ago, I was brought on board to turn it into a retail art supply store. And now we have about 10,000 square feet of art supplies that range from basic beginners art supplies all the way to top professional quality and everything in between. We also do framing, and we also hold art classes. It's a destination place. It's by Polo Park, but it's about 6 blocks north of Polo Park. So we're in our own building.
Are you over by Sargent?
No, we're on Dublin, right on the corner.
That far down?
That's far down, yeah.
Well, that's not hard to get to, though.
No, that's not hard to get to at all. No, we have our own parking lot, so we don't have to worry about that nasty parking.
No, you don't have those issues. And it's far enough away from Polo Park that you're not really as affected by the gridlock that happens there, especially this time of year, which is actually good news.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's very good news. And so we've been doing really well. Year after year after year, we're growing, and we're a very proactive company and very supportive of art clubs and schools and businesses and places like Art City and Graffiti Gallery, and we do really well.
Well, we've got a relationship with Graffiti Gallery ourselves over here,
right?
Bart, I'm wondering, in terms of the kind of customer base that you have, is this something that travels by word of mouth among those that are interested in crafts and art supplies?
Yeah, it really is. It's actually one of the best kept secrets in Winnipeg, which I would like it to become the worst kept secret in Winnipeg.
Well, we'll do our best.
It is by word of mouth, definitely. We do some advertising, and we're happy to be on Kick FM, because I think we're getting a lot of response from that. We are used to have a store down at 88 Albert for about 6 years, and after about 6 years, we decided, okay, we're going to shut that down and maybe look at another relocation. We'd love to be in the downtown area. But we are busy in all aspects because we're very diversified. We do framing. We have art supplies for schools and for art clubs. And like I say, everything from the novice all the way up to the top professional artists. We have acrylics, oils, canvases, surfaces, brushes, everything you could imagine.
And you mentioned before the art classes there as well?
Yeah, we have art classes basically year-round, yeah.
Does that include from novice to more expert?
Yeah, actually, all of our classes are taught by some really outstanding local artists, and they are usually 1 or 2 day workshops, and you start and finish a project. And really, I like to have it set up so that it's really, whether you're professional or not, you can always learn something, but you don't have to be. You can come and be a complete novice and still finish a painting and learn.
You're so
a
nice
lot.
that you use the term novice, because if you ever saw me with a paintbrush, you'd be using the term amateur, I assure you.
Well, you don't paint inside the lines, though.
I don't paint at all. I don't do any of that stuff. I mean, it's funny because my kids are artistically inclined, and I've certainly dated a few girls that were, of that ilk. But I myself, my idea. Well, you've seen my idea of what artistic is. You get two guys inside of a ring and you try to tell a story that way, right?
That's a different type of art, but it's art. Yeah.
I'm glad to hear you admit to that. What is the size of your staff over there?
We have about 25 people that work here, and they're made up of a core group of fairly long-time, full-time people, and then about 2/3 part-time people, and the majority of them are students, art students, either going to Red River, going to U of M, taking fine art, to either become artists or become teachers. I've had several who've already graduated who now are teachers in the school divisions. So, I have a fairly long-term collection of employees who work here, and eventually they go on to bigger and better things, and I shake their hands and I say, good on you.
Oh, I think that I can see that I've been remiss in not coming down to your shop. Can you give my audience an idea of the hours that they can come down and patronize you?
Yeah, sure. We're open 7 days a week. We're open Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. until 7 p.m., Saturdays from 9 to 6, and Sundays noon till 5. And in the Christmas holiday season, we're going to be open till 8 o'clock at night starting next week, and Sundays still noon until 6 o'clock.
Okay, Bart, I appreciate you taking the time to come on, describe what Artist Emporium is about, give us an idea of the kind of services and goods that you carry, as well as reassure everybody that there's ample parking and not so close to Polo Park that they'll have trouble during the Christmas season.
Ample parking.
And I'll make a point of coming down there. Now, I wanted to ask you one other question.
Yeah.
Were you going to be coming down to the two Seasons Beatings tomorrow night at Dillon's?
Tomorrow I can't. I wanted to, but I
had you all set up for the Kick FM table. Yeah, Frank the Italian Barber was going to give you a little trim.
Oh, maybe I have to come down now.
You know what? If you show up, I'll make sure that I'm pretty sure Andrew Shallcross, the promoter, is listening. But if you want to come down, just send me an email or give me a call. I'll make sure that you're on the pass list. And like I said, Frank, I told Frank I'm trying to get a couple of the sponsors together for tomorrow night's show to come down. And Frank has never been to a show, so I thought maybe you could hold his hand during some of the action. But if you wanted to come down, then you'll be more than welcome. And just let me know, and we'll get you on the pass list. Otherwise, maybe we'll be able to have a Kick FM sponsor gathering at the PCW show in January. I know they have a big event planned.
Maybe we'll go out for lunch sometime, and I'll get you a ham salad or something.
Hey, now there's a listener. You got me a ham salad. I can't thank you enough, Barton. Thanks very much for sponsoring this program and for sponsoring Kick FM. And I look forward to having you on the air again at some point. I'd like to maybe to just be able to talk about the influence of the art community in Winnipeg. We know that it's got a very deep base, and there's a lot of people very committed to it. Yeah. And obviously, you and your staff are an important component in promoting art as not just as a recreation, but as a way of life as well. And I very much appreciate your taking the time to address the Kick FM audience today.
Oh, well, thank you. And thanks for having me on, Marty, and Happy Hanukkah and Merry Christmas to all your listeners.
Well, thank you very much. We'll be in touch with you.
Keep up the good work. Thanks.
Thank you. Bart Josie of Artist Emporium joining us today. So now, see, Channelie, now you know who it is you voiced the ad for. And I'm very glad that worked out. And now I'm going to you know what, really, I should pick you up one day and we should go down there on a Wednesday before we come into the studio.
I would love that.
Maybe we can arrange that for next Wednesday, as a matter of fact. And Peanut Gallery, you can come here early and do the setup and panic about whether we're going to get here on time. Just before we get to the break, open up the red mic if you would. Not that you were expecting to speak, but one of the benefits of having a quirky listening audience is every once in a while somebody travels the States and comes back with an article or an item that they figure we would enjoy. And we've never turned down a kind of like soda pop or potato chips, the stuff that the businesses that my dad worked in before he ended up in the cab business. And I have in my hand right now. Now, where did you get this from?
Well, I actually put it up in Fargo because it's unavailable in Grand Forks. Believe it or not.
So exclusive.
I'm telling you.
Just like girls roller derby, not available in Grand Forks. Look at how fancy this can is. This is like a space-aged looking...
That is fancy.
Fresca peach citrus sparkling flavored soda with other natural flavors. A product of the USA. Look at that. Total carbs, 0. And if you're wondering what goes into this, among other things, concentrated grapefruit juice, a bunch of chemicals I don't want to repeat, citric acid, natural flavors. Well, I don't care what anybody says. And it's cold. We'll be getting some into you guys in a minute, and we're going to set one can aside. So let's... How long have you been listening to the show for?
About 2.5 years.
Do your friends ever ask you what the hell's the matter with you when you listen? They catch you listening?
No, never at all.
Okay, I'm going to try this right now.
Please do.
I realize it's
Enjoy
not
it.
Diet Cherry Dr. Pepper, but it might be the next best thing.
It's better.
Holy crap, it's better. Okay. That's awesome.
I sit before you do say I was correct.
Wow.
Amazing.
That's it's grapefruit, but it's not so sharp that it's biting at all. Wait, let me check.
Okay.
Too good for Canadians, huh? I don't think so.
Too good for Grand Forkers. Oops.
Is there a particular Grand Forkers? Is there a particular part of the program that you sometimes when you're listening? I don't know whether you listen at work or at home or if you're driving the car. Or maybe you're one of these people that's on their bike on the bike paths.
Oh, no, never on the bike path.
Oh, okay. Well, me neither.
Unless it's in my Honda CR-V.
Oh, so you're a member of the pollution lobby?
I am indeed.
Oh, excellent. Is there a particular aspect of the program that you find particularly interesting or rewarding in terms of what you get from offerings elsewhere on the dial?
Oh, well, certainly I do. I mean, I like the political talk about it, and certainly not the straightforward stuff. I mean, I can read the Free Press and get the easy take on it. I like to hear your side of the view, and I'm sure from my emails you know that I am probably on the other side of the spectrum.
Well, people, there are some critics who do not realize the number of people who are on the left side of the political spectrum who are also dissatisfied with the state of democracy in this province, who are dissatisfied with the secrecy of and the practices of bureaucracies at the civic, provincial, and federal level, and who also are not happy with some of the spending priorities and the agendas of the special interest groups in this town. And you're an example. I don't know if there's much that we really agree on hypothetically, but in practical terms, very often I'm surprised when you send me an email that I'm right on about something. And that happens like more often probably than you're comfortable with. Although maybe it's just a reflection that I used to be a lefty till I grew up.
See? Well, I'll get you back there eventually.
Yeah, do you mind divulging what you do in real life besides being a listener of Kick FM?
I would prefer not to do that.
Okay. Well, rest assured, folks, he is not some sort of a modified bag man or bag lady, and comes well attired.
Although I will take the cans back.
Oh,
to recycle them.
No, don't worry. Don't worry. We'll do the recycling. Okay, we'll have the Crime Court's public safety update. Then a very special appearance, Dr. Tim Ball, the leading denier of global warming. Maybe he might have been right about some of it, eh? You don't hear him on CBC. They don't want to have his ilk on the air. That upsets their apple cart. Hop right on our apple cart. Crime Court's public safety update, Tim Ball. I think we're going to have Illegal Curve on, too. And I'm going to try to get at this email about Story of the Year because we're still taking votes. You can take a look at our blog, tgcts.blogspot.com, to weigh in on that. Before we get to words from our sponsors, all the rest of all that. No, are you doing the weather update? Oh, my God. Time for Peanut Gallery with the weather update.
It's minus 21.1 degrees Celsius currently, with a wind chill of minus 28. Tonight, clear, winds up to 15 kilometers an hour, a low of minus 29, and a wind chill of minus 39, so please plug in your vehicles. Thursday, sunny, increase of cloudiness in the afternoon, wind up to 15 kilometers an hour, high of minus 20, wind chill of minus 39 in the morning, and minus 30 in the afternoon. And Friday, a sunny, a high of minus 16. That again is minus 21. The weather is brought to you by G&G Snow Removal. Driveways, sidewalks, and rooftops, they do it all. Don't let Mother Nature leave you out in the cold. Call G&G Snow Removal today at 782-1859. That's 782-1859.
This is 92.9 Kick FM.
CKIC-FM, broadcasting live from Red River College in Winnipeg.
And at 104.7 on Shaw Cable FM.
92.9 Kick FM, Winnipeg's indie station.
The Great Canadian Talk Show is sponsored by Phil's Barbershop, the home of the king of Corden Avenue, Frank the Italian Barber. For just a little trim or more, go to 836 Corden Avenue or phone 475-0529.
Nighttime radio in Winnipeg never sounded so good. Tune in every Monday to Thursday night at 11 to catch the alternative news and analysis you may have missed on Winnipeg's most influential drive-home show, The Great Canadian Talk Show. That's right, replays of the radio program everybody is talking about 4 nights a week at 11 p.m. on Winnipeg's indie station 92.9 Kick FM. Don't you dare miss it.
Want to know how to move forward in life? Get ahead? Do better for yourself? The answer is CDI College. CDI's helped thousands of grads get ahead, and you could be next. Call CDI right now. They have lots of programs to choose from. Programs that can get you in, get you trained, and get you working in less than a year. Training will help you move forward and make more money. It's as simple as that. A new career in under a year? What are you waiting for? Call CDI now at 1-800-380-7359 or go online at cdischool.com.
The safety and security of you and your family have been the top priority of Winnipeggers for years. Find out the latest every weekday afternoon from 4 to 5:30 on The Great Canadian Talk Show when we bring you the crime, courts, and public safety update. Brought to you by the Winnipeg Police Association on 92.9 Kick FM.
Take that, villain. The alternative media strikes again.
The government not like Marty Gold, cause he tell truth. He tell truth.
92.9 Kick FM.
I know. A compliment from a listener here. I'm so looking forward to Tim Ball. Good job getting him on the air. Well, the wonders of email. It wasn't much hunting. Matter of fact, with regards to here, I'm going to do it this way. We will get to the crime courts public safety update from another listener. This is with regards to story of the year. First of all, great coverage on ClimateGate. I believe there can only be one candidate for story of the year. Now, this person looked at the top 10 list that we put together. Numbers 1, 5, and 9 all pertain to the Winnipeg Free Press. Add to that Dan Lett, Gordon Sinclair, Bob Cox and the Zombie Story. They were being in bed with the Regional Health Authority, Hydro whistleblower coverage, Crocus coverage, ClimateGate non-coverage. Add all this up, and I believe the story of the year has to be the downfall of the Winnipeg Free Press. The once great paper in the city is now just another lefty rag. Hope you have a happy Hanukkah. All the best in the new year. Love your show. Thank you very much, Renaud. And there are some other people that have taken note of the same thing, that a couple of the stories on our top 10 list, like Gail Glesby, or the finding that the medical trials, the drug trials behind drugs like Vioxx, the COX-2 drugs, were 21 of those studies were faked. So those are stories that we did that was sort of a scoop on the mainstream media, but a lot of the stories that are on that list are actually stories that we think were unreported or underreported in mainstream media. And so I can see it, and other listeners and readers of the blog have made she took another cookie, have made a similar observation with regards to you know, you look at the stories, and I'm hung up on a story. What was your favorite story, actually, from last year, since you're a regular listener?
Well, I certainly like the Human Rights Museum. I didn't mind
all that you see in the Human Rights Museum coverage didn't even actually make it onto the list this year. But when you look at a lot of the stories we've covered, there is definitely an overarching theme of the fact that mainstream media is so co-opted in this city. See, even the guy from the left is nodding.
You see, the problem is, though, the way I see it, is that it's become more of a making money machine as opposed to just reporting the news. Going out there, finding the stories, and reporting on them and letting the public know what's going on. You shouldn't have to be a left-supporting paper, a right-supporting paper. I mean, we've seen this happen in TV as well, right? With especially in the States, Fox News and CNN. I mean, they are total opposites, as opposed to... You know, I remember when CNN first came on, it was fantastic because they would give you the stories and break them down.
It's hard to watch now.
It's terrible to watch. It really, really is. And Fox is no better. I mean, it's, you know, some of the news reporting on Fox isn't too bad, but it always is slanted to the right.
And then on the local level, the same kind of corporate mentality has infected Winnipeg newsrooms to some extent.
Well, I think so. And again, like I said, it should be what's happening out there. Let's have the reports and what was the reasonings behind some of the problems. If we talk about the gangs, you know, again, you've brought this up many, many times. Tell us who the perpetrators are. If they are Aboriginal, they're Aboriginal. If they're not, then they're white.
How about just naming?
African,
how about naming the judges and naming the gangs? And unless it's the Hells Angels, they don't want to name the gangs. But the typical Winnipegger does not live in fear of the Hells Angels carjacking them,
correct,
raiding their parties, shooting them on the street for no reason.
No, it's ridiculous. It totally really is. And until you start putting the people out there, and I agree with you on the judges as well, I would at one point probably like to spew about my feelings on lawyers in the judicial system. Period.
We can do that in the new year if you have a chance to come by. A few people have similar feelings with regards to lawyers in the judicial system, and I'd like to get into that in the new year.
Perfect. Absolutely. I will do that with you. But yeah, I totally agree, and I really would like to see more of the criminals being named. I mean, I think I emailed you a few times on the youth criminal justice system, and I understand the law. But having said that, there's got to be some sort of, if you do it 10, 15 times, don't you think there should be some sort of, you know what, this person has kind of given up sort of those rights falling under that law?
You think?
Well, I would think so. And, and again, I don't want to always blame the parents, but, why is this happening? Like, are the parents to blame?
How many times do we read sad sack stories in the free press about, I'm not picking on them, but, some family, some single mother, whatever, and, like, you read the story, and it's like the reporters never go, well, where's the father?
Well, exactly. So, but I agree with you on that.
Let's take a look at a couple of other crime courts public safety related issues. For all the controversy around the WATS program, the auto theft suppression strategy, was a finalist. I think I said earlier it was an award winner. Is actually a finalist for the 2009 Center for Problem-Oriented Policing Goldstein Award. This announcement made by MPI President and CEO Marilyn McLaren today in conjunction with Chief McCaskill and Attorney General Andrew Swan. The award is named for Professor Herman Goldstein of the University of Wisconsin Law School, who conceived of and developed the theory of problem-oriented policing, which consists of innovative and effective policing projects that have achieved measurable success in resolving recurring specific crime, disorder, or public safety problems faced by the police and the community. Well, that's all very well and good. Marilyn McLaren saying that the WATS program has managed to keep 9,000 vehicles from being stolen, saving MPI $25 million in claims in just 1 year. I wonder whether Professor Goldstein ever conceived of an idea where to prevent crime. People were going to be forced to put devices in their car, and then when the device goes on the fritz, you have to pay for it. Press release today from the Conservative Party. The NDP has cut back on addiction services for youth. Apparently, the Addictions Foundation of Manitoba informed 50 schools they're either going to start paying 50% of the cost of addictions counseling, or the services in schools are going to be cut back. Remember, this is the government that had $31 million for polar bears. The AFM would need about $400,000 to keep providing this service in our communities. Unbelievable. Item last from the crime file today. I know it's kind of truncated. In the course of discussing a recent drug seizure, the Winnipeg police told the Winnipeg Sun that the $320,000 worth of pot would have ended up on the street being sold in 1-gram baggies, thereby maximizing the value. And we've talked about this repeatedly on the program. Why exaggerate when the truth is good enough? But the police brass cannot get it through their heads. There is nobody out there that believes for a minute that anybody is going to take $320,000 worth of pot and break it all down into single grams, and that it will all be sold at top dollar. And a matter of fact, there's no such thing as a 1-gram baggie. Maybe a quarter of an ounce, maybe an eighth, the traditional, a couple of grams. A 1-gram baggie? That's ridiculous. Again, and the fact that the Winnipeg Sun, the reporters, didn't go, what are you talking about? It's all going to be sold in 1-gram baggies. Come on. The bust was certainly sizable, good police work, but don't try to impress the public by BSing them. There's no mileage in that. That's what we think. That concludes the Crime Court's Public Safety Update, brought to you by the Winnipeg Police Association. The WPA supports raising awareness of public safety and supports campus radio in Winnipeg.
Feeling a bit behind? Keep up with the Great Canadian Talk Show online on your time. Here's how. Listen to the live broadcast and replays streamed on our website, www.kick.fm, or read our blog at tgcts.blogspot.com, or join our Facebook group. Search for The Great Canadian Talk Show on Facebook and you'll find us. The Great Canadian Talk Show on Winnipeg's indie station, 92.9 Kick FM.
Almost alone in the Winnipeg broadcast media, we have covered ClimateGate. From the time that it broke, we waited for a couple of days and saw that there was no coverage in the mainstream media. Because it's just inconvenient to tell the truth. And we've talked about what is involved in ClimateGate. The leaking of emails, the evidence that data has been altered, fudged, suppressed, manipulated, all for a political agenda. And we've also talked about the use of the term deniers for people who dared to question. Many of the leading deniers, Canadians. One of the leading Canadians, vilified for years, marginalized, attacked over and over again for daring to suggest that the evidence of man-caused global warming was overstated or non-existent, is my guest at this time. Joining us on the phone from Victoria, former Winnipegger, Dr. Tim Ball. Good afternoon, Dr. Ball. Let's try that again. Try it again. And can you hear me, Dr. Ball?
Yes, I can hear you.
There you are. I couldn't hear you for a second there.
Okay, well, yes, we'll try that again. Thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
I don't know the last time you were on Winnipeg Radio, but I'm glad to have you on. You used to be a darling of the Winnipeg media, and then you fell out of favor, and I think it's because they've been co-opted by an element that is generally seen as being on the political left that wants to drive change by redirecting our wealth towards developing countries, all in the cause of supposedly saving the planet from global warming. I want to firstly get your perspective on the notion that science is supposed to deal in facts and not be influenced by political agendas.
Well, that's the case, but of course throughout history, politics has interfered as politics saw it convenient to interfere. In fact, one of the highlights of my life was when I raised questions about the so-called ozone issue before a parliamentary committee, and one of the parliamentary members said, Dr. Ball, Galileo would be ashamed of you, and the only thing I could say was to be mentioned in the same sentence as Galileo is the greatest compliment you could pay me, and clearly you don't understand science. But yeah, but this is different in the sense that it's on a global scale. This is deception. It's the largest deception in history because of that. And, of course, it's a reflection of that lovely comment by a Winnipegger, by the way, Marshall McLuhan, a Canadian, the Global Village. And so what these people have done is having impact around for everybody on the planet, and that makes it the biggest deception in history.
Do you believe that it is irrelevant whether the emails and the zip file was hacked or leaked, that whether there's any illegality involved, that is irrelevant because the information that has been revealed is so shocking and so extensive?
Yeah, well, of course, the initial response from East Anglia, Climatic Research Unit East Anglia, Phil Jones, and I've watched him and these people manipulate the data for years, but didn't have the smoking gun. But their initial reaction was, look, this is a hack, it's an illegal act, and they called the police in. And of course, one of the reasons they did that was because, as you said, this information is absolute dynamite, and many of the public don't understand. You can read some of the emails; they sound innocuous, but when you know the science and the history of what they're really saying, it is devastating. And the reason they said it was hacked was because if there is a court case, then hacked information in UK law is not admissible. But if it was a whistleblower, as I suspect that it is, then it is admissible in UK law. And the reason I think it's a whistleblower, Marty, is because some of the files, particularly the emails, not the computer code part, but the emails, were released to a BBC reporter on October the 14th, almost 3 weeks ahead of when it actually came out. He did nothing with it. And that's not surprising because, of course, the BBC is so far to the left on this issue. And so I think that the person realized that they needed to get beyond that and then took it to the world. And the other thing, and that indicates a whistleblower, the other thing is that whoever did it almost had to be on the inside to know which files to pick, the numbering systems and so on. So I think it's a whistleblower. And of course, the fact that it came out just before Copenhagen was significant. And I think that somebody in there had a conscience, because what's interesting is when you read the emails, there are one or two of them, very few, and just the odd comment that they knew what they were doing. So there's comments like, should we go this far? Maybe we shouldn't do that. And I think that somebody, probably somebody sitting on the side, maybe even a graduate student, saying, "This is outrage. We're impacting the whole world for no reason, and I've got to get this out there."
Now, their vicious response, vicious commentaries, Canada being pressured by the likes of George Monbiot, one of the leaders of the global warming, the so-called warmist crowd. I believe that was in the Guardian in the UK, saying that he's even revoking his self-imposed ban on flying to come to Toronto, calling Canada bullies, that we're the biggest threat to the future of the planet. Besides the fact that he's some sort of a blowhard, this is the same guy that said that nobody should have to file a freedom of information request, that all studies should be backed up, for an article that is peer-reviewed should be readily available. Not even a month ago, he said that the argument about climate change, that the science was settled, the moral question of the 21st century, and now the likes of him are flying off the handle, that the data and the emails are irrelevant, that the fact that people like yourself, the so-called deniers, have been proven correct, that doesn't matter, and trying to put enormous pressure on Canada to fall into line with this ultra-socialist agenda, this Marxist agenda. I found out yesterday, apparently part of the Copenhagen Protocol would allow the United Nations to collect a tax on registered retirement savings plans.
Yeah, well, that's part of the Danish text, as it's called, that was leaked as another leak within a leak at the Copenhagen conference. And what you see is, of course, that they want this in the hands of the IMF and the World Bank, controlled by the UN. But back to George Monbiot for a second, in England, by the way, they call him Moonbat. He, of course, is typical of what is called a champagne socialist in England, that he comes from a very wealthy family, has had a very excellent education, but, of course, has swung to the left. And the other one that is Andrew Revkin at the New York Times.
Yes.
And both of these people are taking that position that you said of these files are insignificant and they were obtained illegally and so on. The reason that they're doing this is because their emails are in these hacked files. They were communicating with these people at the CRU, and in fact, one of the last emails that came out was from Michael Mann, who falsified the hockey stick, to Andrew Revkin at the New York Times, saying, "Look, if you want to shoot down McIntyre, I can tell you that he's a liar, not to be trusted." And he doesn't operate within the normal academic system of peer-reviewed papers and so on. And, of course, the laugh about that is that they were controlling the peer-review process.
That's right. They weeded out anybody who could have possibly applied a genuine critical eye to their work.
Exactly.
The fact is...
And I knew that. Again, I couldn't put my finger on it, because when they started using, it's not peer-reviewed, or if you had peer-reviewed papers, I knew there was something up. And, by the way, this was identified in a report by Professor Wegman. The U.S. Senate had an investigation into who was right, McIntyre or Mann, on the hockey stick. And Wegman not only said that McIntyre was correct, but he also wrote an incredible thing for a science report, or committee to report. He said there are 42 scientists in a clique here who not only publish together, but peer review together. And just to illustrate that point, one of the emails, there's a little comment that, we think we've got the paper the way we want it, and for citation purposes, we're going to put these 4 names on it.
Well, how convenient.
How convenient, isn't that right? And then, of course, they put those 4 names on it. That frees up others to do the peer review on it, okay? And, in fact, on one paper... One journal, the Geophysical Research Letters, the editor, Sayers, finally published McIntyre's piece, and they got him fired. And so, as I said, Revkin, Monbiot are up to their necks in this issue. And, of course, Revkin also said initially, he said, "I'm not going to publish the stuff. I won't put it in our newspaper because it's been obtained illegally." Well, that's never, ever stopped the New York Times before. This is the paper that released the Pentagon Papers that were obtained illegally and so on. But it's just more of Revkin's cover-up of his own culpability. His journalistic integrity is absolutely zero.
I think there's a lot of people whose integrity is zero. Now, we know that there's a group of scientists that subverted peer review journals, that they conspired to keep key scientists who disagreed with their conclusions out of sight. They lost or destroyed evidence and raw data. They bragged that they would destroy data rather than turn it over according to FOI requests. They deliberately misled journalists by using tricks to show global warming when their data showed the opposite. These people are responsible for the science behind the conclusions that are the basis for the various modules that are used to determine global temperature variations.
Well, yes, there's actually three sources. The basic source is NOAA, the American Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration. They run something called the Global Historical Climatological Network, and that's supposedly the raw data. But even by the time it goes out with that, it's been adjusted. And, of course, in every adjustment that we can talk about, it was always to push the older temperatures down, which then made the more recent ones look warmer. But that's the first source. Then two groups that use that. One is HADCRUT, which is the Hadley Center and the CRU combined. Mm-hmm. And, by the way, they separated about a year and a half ago. The Hadley Center, which is part of the UK Met Office, were clearly very uncomfortable with the denials of freedom of information, and so they separated. But they put out global temperatures. And the other one, of course, that we know has been cooking the books is James Hansen, who's the head of the NASA Goddard Institute of Space Studies. Mm-hmm. And we've caught him, and we proved how he's cooked the books. And
does that relate to when NASA had to correct themselves, and it turns out the 1930s?
Oh, yes, the 1934 was the warmest when they said it was 1998 in the U.S. And they also said, and Gore, by the way, used that information in his movie totally incorrectly. And so, there are many people involved in this, and but really the CRU people, Jones, and particularly Tom Wigley, who I've watched, he took over the Climatic Research Unit. And by the way, Marty, I visited the Climatic Research Unit when it was just set up by Professor Hubert Lamb, mm-hmm. who was really the founder of modern climatology. He helped me, reviewed a bit of my doctoral thesis, and I talked with him at length about it. He reviewed an early paper that I did, but he was of the old school, very
methodical,
great integrity. And then he hired Tom Wigley to do the science for him, and Wigley is the one that's really orchestrated all this. And when you read those emails, you'll see that he's the grandfather. He's the go-to guy.
Now, there's a couple of different issues that have arisen with this, because it's not only a question of science being subverted, but also there's the subversion of the news media. You were the darling of CBC when you were at the University of Winnipeg. Now they'd rather promote, if they were given a choice, they'd rather promote the views of Osama bin Laden rather than the views of yourself. Why is that? People claim you're in the pocket of the oil industry.
Well, of course, that's as you know, when you start losing an argument, you start the personal attacks. It's in philosophy they call it ad hominem attacks. And it's an absolute lie. I've never received a nickel from the oil companies. I wish I had, actually. Then I could afford their
Well, then you'd be phoning us from your house on the beach in Tahiti or something.
You got it. There you go. And by the way, that's another part of it. Of course, it's cost me enormous amounts of opportunities. The only thing I've ever worried about was did it have a negative impact on my family? And I got to say, I'm enormously proud of my family that they supported me through this. And but yeah, the charges, the attacks that are paid by the oil company, the CBC, of course, totally corrupted by David Suzuki. He has almost complete control of that of them especially with regard to the science. And then they have that, was it McDonald, the science reporter?
Oh, Quirks and Quarks. I took a good rip at him. You know what? The readers of his blog on CBC, they did all the work in just eviscerating his comments, his own denial of the obvious in terms of what the zip file has shown, and the manipulation of the media and the manipulation of public sentiment. Again, all towards what is essentially a political agenda. The news media are failing to do their job. The details had to be found on the internet. Many Canadian newspapers lagging far behind. CBC lagging 10. There was 21 million Google hits about ClimateGate. CBC had done a total of one story by that stage. Did you ever, Dr. Ball, expect to see a day when the institutions of science and the press had fallen so low?
No, I really didn't, and this is again what makes it the greatest deception. And of course, they are accessories before the fact. And the CBC, for example, they wanted to do a hatchet job on me on Fifth Estate, and I refused to participate. I was giving a presentation up in the Peace River country, and I was doing a breakfast presentation. They approached me, and I said, "You're not from the CBC Fifth Estate, are you?" Because I'd already turned them down. Mm-hmm. And they said, "No, we're CBC News." Well, it turned out they weren't. They lied to me, and so I said, "Look, I'll give you 10 minutes of my time." I sat down. The cameraman, with some integrity, said, "We actually are Fifth Estate." And I took off the microphone and got up and left. Well, they unknown to me, they'd already filmed me standing on the platform when the interviewer, was asking me if I would talk with them after my presentation. And they used that then with voiceovers in a scandalous Fifth Estate program. And by the way, I went to the Ombudsman. I've never heard back from them. I've had no response
from the CBC Ombudsman.
From them.
Hardly a surprise to listeners of this program, Dr. Ball.
Well, and the other thing is, here's the other side of it. The Globe and Mail did a 2-page spread on me. I've forgotten the guy's name, Charles somebody. But anyway, he phoned me and said, "Look, I'm doing a story on climate change." I spent hours with him explaining the science, explaining why I held the views that I did. And the next thing I know, he's written a 2-page spread absolutely condemning me all to pieces. Now, fortunately, a week later, the National Post wrote a 2-page response to this attack. So I became a first, and I'm probably the only Canadian that's ever had 2 full pages within a week in 2 different newspapers. But I found out later that the guy that did the hatchet job in the Globe and Mail was working for and not under contract to, but was associated with James Haugen. Now, Haugen is a name that people should become familiar with because he owns the largest public relations company in Canada, and many of his main clients are alternative energy companies who therefore stand to gain from CO2 being a problem. But he's also been chair of the Suzuki Foundation for many years.
So it hardly makes him an impartial source of anything.
Well, exactly. And he just came out with a book called Climate Cover-Up, and of course he's lambasting me. Not a mention about the science or a response to the science questions. And Haugen also set up a thing called Dismog Blog.
Now, that's interesting you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Because yesterday, our manager here put up a series of links to the archive shows, recent shows, and we've been doing ClimateGate most recently. We've done a lot of stuff about Manitoba Hydro, which has been in the news frequently in the last couple of months here. And a comment was placed beneath there was no text to it. It's just he's just added on, more recent shows, right?
Yep.
And last night, we got a comment. "I hope you have the guts to ask tough questions of Mr. Ball. He's a smooth-talking friend of big oil. His credentials are questionable. He has an agenda. Global warming is something to study. It's an ongoing science. It does not fit into today's fast food mindset. You have to start looking at it sometime. Man does have an effect on the environment. The likes of big oil, are you really doing your listeners a favor? Please question his credentials." And it turns out that what do they link to? Desmo blog. Trying to get me before I got you on the air to want to discredit you. Well, I took a look at Desmo blog, and what it says on that blog is deception is not a point of view. So I wrote, "The question of who deceived the public and benefited from it is the issue I intend to address with Dr. Ball. Thank you for listening. I ask you, Dr. Ball, who deceived the public and who benefited from it?"
Well, exactly. And, of course, the question is, who are the deniers now?
Well, you had that the week before the emails were even leaked, and I've read that editorial comment of yours on the air, and I'm going to be getting to the subsequent ones, including the death blow to climate science, and then you had a follow-up. So even before this happened, you were and I don't have a lot of investment in these issues. No. I'm not one that buys into an awful lot of the tree hugger point of view, but it is very apparent to me that trying to skew our economies in favor of so-called developing nations, et cetera, that this is entirely political, that this is a move towards a world government philosophy, and that it is based on never mind, it was pseudoscience before, but now it's clearly based on rigged methodology and on altered data to achieve a desired effect. And I think that people like yourself and the other Canadians that have been involved in this, that would be McIntyre, and who's the other guy, Ross?
Ross McKittrick.
Yeah, We've got some Canadians that are very much at the forefront of this, and even today I learned that there was somebody from Environment Canada that's been involved in so-called homogenizing the data.
Yep, and of course, Environment Canada are up to this in their necks, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But just back to that point about the real loser potentially in this is the environment and the environmental movement, because the environmental movement is absolutely necessary. We need to care about our planet. And people are going to say, well, we don't believe in anything you tell us anymore. And it gives comfort to those people who genuinely are polluters that we need to nail. And they can turn around and say, well, yeah, you're telling us this, but the whole thing's phony. Why should we listen to you?
Dr. Ball, I was wondering if you would be available to do a longer interview on this program next week. I realize you're on the Pacific time zone. Yeah. Do you have some time next week? And I'd like to devote a half hour, 45 minutes to you, maybe next Tuesday or Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday during the midweek. Would that be convenient to you? Because I'm getting a pile of emails from listeners.
Yep.
We've got our backs against the wall in terms of having to get this program wrapped up by 6 o'clock. And I realize that people in Winnipeg want to hear your voice. They are comforted by it. They trust you from your many years of exposure in the Winnipeg media on matters relating to weather and climate. And I'd be very happy to give you another opportunity to come on the Winnipeg airwaves to discuss. You see, what you said about we have to care about the environment, you don't sound like a guy who's in the pocket of big oil when you say things like that. You sound like a scientist who cares about the human race but doesn't want to see science perverted in favor of special interests.
Exactly, and if you ask any of my students over the years, they'll affirm to that, and I'm very proud that so many of them still communicate with me. But yeah, I'd be very happy to come on and also to answer any of the questions, by the way, because unlike Suzuki and Al Gore, I don't duck questions. I'm prepared to answer the questions, and I think that's essential. But by the way, yes, there are some Canadians that have been holding their heads up, but sadly, a lot of this has been started by Canadians. One of the prime people in all of this is Maurice Strong, who was born in Oak Lake, Manitoba.
Oh yeah, Maurice Strong, and his name comes up frequently in the Food for Oil scandal at the UN.
Right, and he was born in Oak Lake, Manitoba. He's the one that created the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. And we need to talk about that. We also need to talk about Gordon McBean, who was the Assistant Deputy Minister of Environment Canada, who chaired the formative meeting of the IPCC in Villach, Austria in 1985. And so, unfortunately, yes, there's been some Canadians speaking out, but there's also been some Canadians who are right at the forefront of this scandal.
Dr. Ball, I'll be in touch with, is Marty your son?
Marty's my good wife.
Oh, Marty's your wife?
Yeah.
I don't see a lot of Martys that are female.
I should. Well, it's Martha, and she doesn't like that. That's too sort of biblical.
Too formal.
Yeah,
well, Martin will get a hold of Martha.
Okay, great.
And we'll once again have the exchange of emails between the Martys, and I will make arrangements with Marty to have you on this program again next week. We will well promote it to our audience. I'm just going to take a quick flip in my book, sir, if you can indulge me. But I think we'll aim for next Thursday between 4:20 in the afternoon and 5 o'clock Winnipeg time, about 2:20 to 3 o'clock your time. Do you think that'll work?
I think that'll work. Just let me double check.
Sure. Look at that. We're going to book it right here live on the air with Tim Ball.
There we go.
Oh, this is awesome. You're going to be available then, sir?
It looks good.
Okay, Dr. Ball, send a confirming email.
I'll double check it, but it looks good right now, and I appreciate the chance.
Well, have been following this, as I said. I've seen on the mainstream media, the big media in the U.S. completely ignoring it, or the Obama administration saying, never mind, the science is settled. Like hell.
Yeah,
and I want to give you every opportunity to answer people's questions, to deal with the the skeptics of the deniers, and I stand proudly with you as a denier at this stage, because what I've seen turns my stomach. I have known scientists in my time. It is revolting, the tactics that have been used, and in fact, I have also seen the graph that demonstrates that this planet was way colder around 1000 or so. In the Middle Ages, I've
warmer,
seen
warmer then, but
warmer then, and then it cooled off, and then now maybe it upticked, and maybe it didn't, but it's minimal at best. And I see that this is something that has to be looked at with a very long range, and the short-sightedness of people that are using this to advance political causes and to demean good scientists and honest scientists like yourself, I find completely revolting. So we're going to get you back on the Great Canadian Talk Show again, and as I said,
just one quick
sure, go
thing,
ahead.
Marty. I'm going to give you a scoop here. Tomorrow, you will hear a paper presented at Copenhagen that's been deliberately produced for more scare, talking about ocean acidification.
Okay.
And you can, if you want to flip back to my articles on Canada Free Press, I wrote one in July predicting that this would come up and what's wrong with it scientifically. Okay, but tomorrow there's going to be a group of scientists, European scientists, presenting this scare and saying that the ocean is becoming acid and the animals are going to die and on and on and on, and it's absolute rubbish.
I'm going to cover that tomorrow. We will have you on again right now, tentatively next Thursday, Dr. Ball. And I want to thank you very much for coming on the air on 92.9 Kick FM, the Great Canadian Talk Show. Okay, well, I guess we managed to lose the connection with Dr. Ball, but I will be...
No.
Oh, you're there? Okay, well, I'm done.
I thought you were winding up. Thanks for the opportunity, Marty, and I'll talk to you next week.
Right on. Thanks very much. Dr. Tim Ball joining us today from Victoria, and I'm very glad to be able to have him. And now I see what happened was line 1 disappeared. There it is. That's illegal curve again, right? Here, let me answer it. Is that illegal curve?
Marty Gold.
All right, let's get right through to the back end of the program. I didn't hear from you till, actually, I wasn't able to open the email till I had Dr. Tim Ball on. But Illegal Curve tonight, the best hockey show in all of Canadian radio. I'm willing to say probably in all of North American radio, because there's no way some Yanks are better at covering hockey than we are.
Certainly not.
What's going on with the Flyers, bud?
Well, you know what? They're firing coaches. Their goaltender's going down with injury. Expectations were really high in Philadelphia coming into the season. They came off a year last year. They took the future Stanley Cup champion Penguins to a very tough 6-game series. Then they acquired Chris Pronger in the offseason. They brought in Ray Emery from the KHL to shore up their goaltending. Expectations were really high in Philadelphia, and they have not come to pass so far this year. And as is usually the case, the coach is the victim. And
walks the plank.
Walks the plank. John Stevens was fired about 10 days ago now. Maybe not.
No, I think it was a little shorter than that. But
maybe about a week ago.
They are a mess.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of Flyers fans out there.
There's a ton of Flyers fans out there, and so we're going to have Anthony Sanfilippo of the Delaware County Daily Times on tonight, and he's going to give us the what's what as to
I didn't realize that the state of Delaware covered hockey.
Well, you know what? I guess I'm going into my brain and using my geographic map, and Delaware and Philadelphia or Pennsylvania are obviously close to each other. So there's the Flyers have a following up there, and Anthony is kind enough to join us again on the show. We've had him on at least once or twice before already. So we're excited to hear from Anthony tonight. I think at about 20 after 7. Oh,
okay. Any other guests you wanted to tip my audience off to?
Of course. You know us, Marty. We come through with the best guests in the hockey world, and then tonight at 7:40. We have Johnny Misley, Hockey Canada. We're going to talk about the announcement today of Mark Messier as the 2010 World Hockey Championship General Manager. And, of course, what everybody's waiting for with bated breath, the Olympic announcement. The roster is getting announced probably in about 2 weeks' time, 3 weeks' time, actually, if I'm not mistaken, because we're going to be on the air. So 3 weeks today, or 3 weeks tomorrow, the roster is getting announced. We're going to do the preview show 3 weeks today. We're going to have Johnny Misley on tonight to talk about what the process is and what players they've seen and what players they are leaning towards and who is on the outs right now.
Okay, right on. Drew, we got to leave it there. Illegal Curve on tonight here on 92.9 Kick FM. We'll have you on again next Wednesday.
Thanks, Marty.
And maybe I'll get a ham salad before Christmas.
Well, and a happy Hanukkah to you.
Happy Hanukkah to you and the boys as well.
Yeah, starting Friday.
Thanks very much. That's it from us here on the Great Canadian Talk Show. Back with more tomorrow from 4:30 till 5 o'clock. Larry Stefaniak, Wise Up Winnipeg. Get your photo radar van, red light camera stories ready. We'll have all that and more. Thanks very much to my various guests today, including Dr. Tim Ball. We'll have him on again next week. Hey, Peanut Gallery, great job. Shanley, thanks very much, my dear. And Peach Fresca, you're the best. Okay, that's it from us. You can email us overnight, talk@kick.fm. Now stay tuned for Winnipeg's best sports, news, talk, information, and music programming all evening long here on Winnipeg's Indie Station.